West Ham United's number one position has always been very much up in the air, I think. Obviously, when we signed Areola, it was understood that he would be second fiddle to Fabianski. And I think there was a promise sort of made that Areola would be the number one last season. And obviously, I'm not exactly sure what happened with that, but Fabianski did retain his position at number one. Fabianski played all of pre-season this year, even though it was recognised and expected that Areola would be starting this year. I mean, we signed him when he was like 28 years old. Fabianski coming into his probably last year at West Ham. I think he's around 37 now, or possibly 36, going into 38. So, it was understood that Areola was going to be number one this season. But like I said, Fab had played every single game pretty much in pre-season. It looked like he was going to be the number one again for this season. And then all of a sudden, we go against Bournemouth and Areola is the starting goalkeeper of West Ham United. And, it came as a bit of a shock to me, but the person that came a shock to the most is Lucas Fabianski. He came on an interview, I believe it was on a Polish TV station, and he essentially said that he was dropped or told that he was going to not be the first team keeper this year around 2 days before the start of the season. He was told. He said he was, really, really hurt by that. He didn't expect it at all. The way in which Moyes approached it has actually really, really hurt him, and he's hurt and angry about it. And I can really understand where he's coming from. I mean, like I said, he's gone through the whole of pre-season like a professional, thinking he's going to be playing first team football. Would he have pushed for a move away potentially if he wasn't being offered first team football? I'm not sure. I think he probably would still stay at the club. But, why did David Moyes not turn around at the start of the season and say, look, Lucas, you've been our goalkeeper at number one for a long time now. We want to test out Areola in net. Obviously, he's younger. He's the next goalkeeper who's going to be taking your position when you ultimately leave us. So we're going to play him at the start of the season. Obviously, we still want you fit. We still want you playing pre-season. But ultimately, we believe that's the direction the club wants to go in, because we know that's the direction the club wants to go in and needs to go in. But the fact that was not communicated to Lucas Fabianski, I think is quite poor. Now, obviously, there is an argument to be had of whether Fabianski actually was going to be the number one this season, and David Moyes has changed his mind last minute. Whether he was using pre-season to say, is Lucas Fabianski going to be the keeper this year? Decided at the end of it, what, he's not. But again, that wasn't communicated to Fabianski either. He didn't say to him, look, we're not sure it's going to be number one this season. It's up in the air, and it might be the case, but just play your pre-season, and a decision will be made 2 or 3 days before the season. And it goes back to David Moyes being a very, very poor man management. It's probably one of his weakest part of his games is being a poor man management. We've seen, so many youth players leave over the years because they've been given false promises, or they just haven't been sold the project enough to David Moyes. From David Moyes, he hasn't sat there and said, listen, there'll be opportunities in this team. You can go out on loan, but as of right now, I can't play you. I don't have the positions to play you. If you have to move away, you can do that. But you're in my plans. It's more been along the lines of, well, listen, I've got him playing this position. I don't see you being in my plans. If you wait it out, then your chance will come potentially. But there's no promises, and he doesn't really play them in cup games or nothing games. So he'll only really play youngsters if it's the last game of a European sort of group stage and we're guaranteed to be going in first place. That's the only time he really plays any sort of youngsters. Doesn't really play them too often in cup competitions. And yeah, of course you want to win cup competitions, but against lesser opposition, I think you have to try out the youngsters. And I've always said this, Declan Rice came from the academy. Declan Rice was a youngster and he was given a chance by Pellegrini. He came in and obviously he's been sold for 105 million. You never know where your next superstar is going to be. So, I think he's poor. He's got very, very poor man management, and it's led to a lot of young players leaving the club. And now I think it's led to Lucas Fabianski obviously being very disgruntled at the fact that this is happening. Obviously, nothing's been reported by X as of yet. This is just based off of an interview that was seen on a Polish TV station. I wouldn't be able to tell you the name of it. And obviously, there's a lot of buzz on Twitter about this situation. But yeah, it's a very interesting one. It's very sad to see because I think Fab, in all honesty, has earned his number one position again this year. I think it was brilliant last year. Areola, I wouldn't say he's played bad at all when he's been called in, but I think ultimately Fab's probably the better keeper. He barely made a mistake last year, and I think he was brilliant. Maybe on the ball is a little bit poor, but we're a team that builds quite slowly from the back. I know we're a counter-attacking side, but we don't really break too quickly. I know we try and be a counter-attacking side, but we don't have a lot of pace. David Moyes is quite happy for the goalkeeper to slow the game down when he's in retention of the ball. So, I don't think we need this amazing modern ball-playing goalkeeper. So if you take that out of the equation, I'd say Fabianski is just edges Areola, but I do get that the direction that West Ham need to be in is that Areola's our next number one because, Fab's getting to that age now. He's got 1 year left in his contract. When he leaves on a free, we don't really want to chuck Areola in net and just see what happens. If he plays all of this season and he turns out to be awful, then we know next season that we need a new goalkeeper. And at least we have Fabianski as our number two to come in and step in when he's playing awful. So I do get why we're doing it this year. But I just think it's very, very poor man management from David Moyes, especially to one of the club's longer serving players as well. I mean, you get players like Creswell who are desperate to leave at the moment, Antonio who might push for a move as well. I think you've got to protect these players who've been there for a very, very long time. It's quite harsh to to not do that. And it's quite sad to see that he's not happy with the decision that's been made. It's quite sad to see he's taken quite a lot of hurt from it. But despite the fact it was gone about in the wrong way, I do think ultimately it's the right decision for West Ham United Football Club, and Areola will be our number one this season.